What's up, guys? How you doing? We're not going to do the intro on the phone this time like I usually do because, believe it or not, that's actually a lot of work. And I'm not bad with technology, but I just have a really shitty computer and Wi-Fi, and it's just a pain in the butt. So bear with me, okay? But today we're going to be talking about how I'm able to build muscle while cycling at the volume that I do. Typically 100 to 200 miles a week, sometimes more. And I've been doing that for a while. And I get lots of DMs of people asking me how I'm able to do that because most guys, their struggle seems to be that they can at least maintain where they're currently at, but they have a hard time actually building the muscle. So that's what we're going to talk about. I made a whole presentation for you guys, and we're going to go ahead and dive on in. So this is how I built muscle while cycling 100 to 200 miles a week. Okay. Right now, I'm typically riding between 1 to 200 miles a week, depending on what I'm training for. I actually have the Tour de Scottsdale tomorrow, so I've been riding quite a bit. I was pretty sick this week, so I guess that was my taper week. Just didn't ride at all. Whatever, will be fine, I guess. Um, but a lot of people assume that if you're cycling that often, the best you can do is maintain muscle, like I said. But obviously, that hasn't been my experience. You guys have seen, my Instagram, what I do. With the right structure, you can actually build muscle. You can improve endurance. With the right structure, you can actually build muscle. You can improve endurance, and you can become more athletic at the same time. So the key isn't just to work harder, but it's to organize your training properly. The hybrid training misconception. I know hybrid, I don't really like that term, hybrid athlete, because it's so fucking, just like, there's a lot of, I don't know. I don't like it. I like to lift weights. I like to ride my bike. I do triathlons here and there. I run occasionally. I just like to be in shape. Okay, call it what you want. A lot of people think that endurance training and muscle growth automatically work against each other. The average cardio kills gains mentality. Not true. And if that is the case, then your training is poorly structured. Okay. Usually what happens is people either ride too hard too often, or they lift in a way that destroys their recovery. So they're trying to push both sides to the extreme. They're not giving themselves a break and doing more bad than good at the end of the day. When the training is structured properly, however, the two can complement each other pretty well. So my goal was performance, right? Like I said, I don't want to just maintain muscle and stay big. I'm not a bodybuilder. I just want to be an overall better athlete. That means getting stronger, improving endurance, building work capacity, and moving better. The way I look becomes a result of training for performance, all right? When the focus shifts to becoming a better athlete, everything tends to improve together. Strength training structure. So I gave you guys a nice little visual here. I hope you appreciate that. Um, I like it. Anyways, for strength training, I lift 3 to 4, sometimes 5 days a week. Like I said, it really depends on what stage of training I'm in. But I am always doing an upper lower split. So this setup works pretty well when you're combining lifting and endurance training because it kind of distributes the fatigue across the body, right? It allows you to train muscles frequently enough to grow while still recovering enough to ride. And the ideal goal here is steady progression in the gym without interfering with cycling performance. So there's a balance that you have to find there, right? So compound movements are the foundation of my training. Majority of my lifting revolves around them. So for upper body, that includes bench press, overhead press, pull-ups, rows, dips, incline press, the basics, right? Stick to the basics. They always work. And then for my lower body, it's squats, RDLs, split squats, deadlift variations, hang cleans, power cleans. Actually, I don't do power cleans. Those are hard. But hang cleans, etc. The reason I do this is because compound lifts give you the biggest training stimulus in the least amount of time. So when you're cycling a lot, efficiency is really going to matter because you want to maximize the return from the amount of time that you're spending in the gym. Another important point is that, like I said earlier, I'm not training like a bodybuilder. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I don't like bodybuilding that much. I used to do it, like not compete, but I was just lifting to look good. Um, but I stopped. And now I lift in a way that builds athletic qualities. Strength, stability, movement efficiency, and force production is what really matters. And these qualities are obviously, they're going to transfer directly to endurance sports. So strength training improved my riding a lot. Stronger legs mean more power output. A stronger core is going to help improve posture and stability on the long ride. So, helping with your back and your neck problems. I know if you do long rides, if you're like me, after 40, 50, 60 miles, you're pretty fatigued in those areas because you're at an awkward angle for the whole time. And strength training is going to help improve that. And then, like I said, better overall strength increases durability, reduces fatigue, and lifting shouldn't be something that takes away from cycling. When you do it properly, like I said, improves your performance on the bike drastically. So that being said, you structure your strength training, and I hope, if you're watching this video, you're probably already a pretty avid cyclist, I would assume. So hopefully you know that obviously cycling needs structure, right? One of the biggest mistakes that endurance athletes make is riding too hard. They think that every ride needs to feel intense, but if you constantly push intensity, your recovery is going to suffer. And when your recovery suffers, both your riding and your lifting are going to start to decline. So obviously, cardio needs purpose. This is a simple structure that works really well. This is the one that I use. This is the one that I used for my triathlon training and for all of the cycling training that I've done, basically. One long ride, one interval or threshold ride, and one recovery ride a week. And then obviously, you can add additional rides in between that, depending on your training phase and your recovery capacity. If you're like me, I tend to recover pretty well. So I don't know if I'm just lucky, but I'm pretty good at that. And obviously, if you just like to ride your bike for fun, don't feel limited by this. Like sometimes I'll just go out for a mountain bike ride just because I feel like it. At the end of the day, I'm not a professional, right? So it's not like extremely important. You don't got to take it to that extent. But this helps create variety, and it helps you allow yourself to build endurance without pushing fatigue. So going into the long ride, okay, we're good. Just leave it there. Obviously, the long ride is going to build your aerobic engine. It's going to help you accumulate volume and develop endurance and improve efficiency and your ability to sustain effort over a longer distance. So the key for long rides is that it's controlled, right? Mainly zone 2. Obviously, you can do some sprint efforts and some higher intensity efforts, absolutely, as long as you're not going all out and bonking super hard, right? It should be challenging, but it shouldn't completely destroy you. My thought process is when you get done, you should not feel exhausted, right? Unless you live in Phoenix, Arizona like me, and it's 96 degrees when you finish your long ride. That happened to me last week. I was cooked. But the goal is building capacity, right? So interval and threshold ride. These are your higher intensity sessions. This is where you train speed, power, and just higher power output in general. So it's going to include threshold efforts, sprint intervals, and just harder sustained efforts. These sessions are really important for improving performance, but you need to use them strategically, right? If you do them too often, you're going to burn yourself out. You're going to hurt your recovery. Speaking of recovery rides are one of the most overlooked part of training. Low intensity, just to kind of help you keep moving and not add any fatigue. They promote circulation, they help your body recover, and they allow you to absorb the harder sessions. So a lot of athletes would actually improve more by including easier rides instead of constantly chasing intensity. A lot of people think that you need to train really, 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 really hard, but in reality, it's the opposite. You can have 1 or 2 hard sessions and the rest should be pretty easy. And I use active recovery a lot. And one of the best ways to do active recovery, even if you're a cyclist, is to go on walks. getting your steps in, that's really going to help you just circulate blood, get the heart pumping without any, super high intensity, super hard on your body movement, like running. I don't like running. Nutrition is the key that allows all of this to work together. You're not going to be able to build muscle and ride high mileage if you're not eating enough. A lot of cyclists burn a lot of calories and then they fail to replace them, which is why a lot of them can typically maintain muscle, but you can't gain any. I don't know about you, but typically on my long rides, I burn anywhere from like 2,000 to upwards of 3,000 calories. And that's a lot. And you need to eat a lot to replace that. So when you're not eating enough, your recovery drops, your performance suffers, and fueling properly supports both lifting and endurance training because your body needs fuel, right? Plain and simple. One of the best ways to build muscle, one of the most important things is obviously protein. Okay, everybody knows this. You need protein. 1 gram per pound of body weight minimum is what I shoot for, because protein is essential for repairing your muscles and growing your muscles. If you're lifting regularly, training at a high volume, your protein intake needs to stay consistently high. Your body needs the raw materials to rebuild muscle after training. Without that, muscle growth just not going to happen. Every endurance athlete knows about carbohydrates. I don't know what's up with the S over there, but just forget about it. Sorry. Everybody knows about carbohydrates, right? Extremely important for endurance performance. Replenish glycogen stores, fuel your rides, and support hard training sessions. If you're going to ride a lot and lift hard while keeping carbs too low, your performance is going to suffer pretty quickly. You're going to bonk. Everybody's probably experienced that. Carbs are fuel. All right. Me personally, I shoot from anywhere to 60 to even 100 grams of carbs an hour on especially the longer rides or the higher intensity rides, because the science backs it up. And I just don't want to bonk. That's the worst feeling ever. Fats, dietary fats are extremely important. All of it's like extremely important, right? But this is a pretty important part of the equation. It's going to support hormone function, overall health, and recovery. They shouldn't be pushed too low, especially when the training volume is high. The goal is not just high protein and high carbs. It's to have a balanced diet, right? That's going to provide you enough fuel for performance with enough nutrients to support long-term health. The goal is health. The overall goal is health. You always want to stay healthy as you can, right? And we've talked about it a lot so far, but recovery. This is where adaptation actually happens, okay? Training creates the stimulus, but sleep, hydration, nutrition, stress management is going to determine whether your body is going to improve from that stimulus or if it's going to break. Right? If recovery is neglected, your strength and your endurance are going to stall. You're not going to see as good as progress, if any at all. That rhymes pretty well. So I'll give you guys a real life example. All right. I was doing this while working 40, 50 hours a week in tech sales, right? I was able to balance my job, my training, my lifting, doing a triathlon. I was able to do all of it. Okay. So your little excuse that you don't have enough time is bullshit. Okay. Unless you are working like 60, 70 hours a week, which is ridiculous, and take it easier on yourself, buddy. But time should not be an excuse. Okay. My brother Johnny, I talk about him a lot. He's the brains behind all of our programming at NIP Performance. And he's the one that built this routine for me while I was doing that, working 40 hours a week at a desk job in sales. So I wasn't in a perfect athlete environment like Tadej Pogacar or any of those Tour de France guys, right? Any of the pros. But there were long work days and plenty of mental fatigue. And the reason I was able to accomplish it and the reason it worked was because the system was simple enough to repeat consistently. All right. I wasn't guessing every day. I was just showing up. And that's the hard part for a lot of guys, is not just staying motivated, but having the discipline to show up. You know, it's hard. You're going to get fatigued mentally, physically, And you do need a break every once in a while, but it's going to be hard. It's going to push you out of your comfort zone. But if you really want these results like you say you do, you're going to show up. It's that simple. So, and that's our goal, is to make it simple, right? Simplicity wins every time. You don't need complicated programming. You just need a repeatable structure. A few well-planned lifting sessions a week, purposeful rides, enough food, enough recovery. And when things stay simple, consistency is going to be easier. And that's what's going to get you your results. So, like I said, consistency, that's going to be the hard part. But if we can just map it out for you and tell you what you need to do, like I said, you just have to show up and trust the process. And that's why a lot of people fail, okay? Hybrid training, I don't like that term, but I'm saying it anyways, is not impossible, right? A lot of people fail because they lack structure. They're going too hard. They're not eating enough. They're guessing what to do, doing random programming or none at all, poor recovery habits, not getting enough sleep, drinking too much alcohol, etc. Progress requires intention. So, the final takeaway for you guys, I hope you like this little art guy that I put in there. You can build muscle while cycling, you can build muscle while cycling 100, 200 miles a week or more easily. You can improve endurance while continuing to get stronger. Strength training, endurance training, nutrition, and recovery all work together. But it requires structure. You have to train with intent. You have to ride your bike with purpose. You got to fuel your body. You got to recover properly, and you have to stay consistent. That's the biggest key, Stay consistent. And honestly, at the end of the day, if you really love this shit like I do, it's not that hard to stay consistent, Eventually, like, it's just part of life. It's just part of your life. That's your identity. And quite honestly, I enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot. So, and I hope you do too. And that's my goal, is to help you enjoy it. Like, I don't want this shit to be something that you hate doing. You know what I mean? Because then it just becomes not fun. So, but yeah, that's all I got for you guys. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully this was beneficial to you. And look, the whole idea behind this video was to give you a pretty good idea of what my structure looked like, or how we build this for our clients. So if you're interested in hearing more and you want to talk to me and Johnny, there's going to be a link to my Calendly in the description of this video. You can schedule a meeting. There's going to be my Instagram handle in the bio, or in the description of this video. You can follow me on Instagram and you can DM me. And yeah, I'd love to talk more. I'd love to see what we can do for you and show you how we can help you build muscle and still be an endurance athlete. It's doable, I promise. So thanks for watching. Check me out on Instagram, TikTok. Watch more of my videos. There's lots of good information in here. And, like and subscribe, just like everybody says. Have a good one.